Good evening. It's time for NTV Business, and my name is Nina Shaban. Now we start off with those, or rather, developing story for those in the business of scrap metal. Now, the scrap metal dealers can heave a sigh of relief. The government now says that the moratorium and trading in scrap metal is only temporary, and the government is embarking on an exercise to generate guidelines which will streamline Kenya's scrap metal industry. Interior Cabinet Secretary, that's Fred Matiang'i, says that all dealers of scrap metal will have to be re-registered as the government makes efforts to weed out rogue dealers who vandalize critical infrastructure in search of raw material. Scrap metal dealers have faulted the government for dealing a serious blow to their source of livelihood.
We are beginning meetings with the energy sector because the moratorium is not eternal. The president imposed a moratorium over a period of time so that we can organize the sector and re-register the dealers and understand and explain to them how they should do their business. We are not lost to the fact that all these scrap metal dealers derive a livelihood from there. They have employed a lot of our people. It's an aspect of our economy. But we can also not do it in a manner that endangers our people. Because what we have seen in the vandalism of infrastructure is actually exposing the country and almost the entire of our population in some cases to grave danger. So that is why we have a moratorium for a short period of time. We have asked our colleagues now in the security sector to enforce the moratorium, but at the same time, we begin immediately from next week to have now sectoral discussions on how to organize the sector. We sit down with the council, we look at the act, if there are amendments to be done to the act, they are worked on, and then we bring everyone together so that we build a new regime within which this scrap metal can be done. Otherwise, you see, whatever business you do, if it's not organized and is not conscious of the security of the people it's supposed to serve, my sister, it will hurt all of us. There is no business you can do in this world where you don't pay attention to, the other side. That's why my colleague is talking about end-to-end view of the businesses that we are doing. We want to spend our time on this.
The Emirates Group will resume passenger operations between Dubai and Kenya starting the 29th of January, just 4 days after Kenya lifted a fortnight-long ban it had imposed on all inbound and transit passengers flights from the Middle East. Now, the airline says that it will operate 10 weekly flights to Nairobi starting the 29th of this month, with all passengers traveling from Emirates African network with Dubai as their final destination, requiring a 48-hour PCR COVID-19 test. Now, the Emirates Group says that the passengers must present a valid negative COVID-19 PCR test certificate from an approved facility, and validity must be calculated from the time the sample was collected. The Central Bank of Kenya projects that the economy will grow by 5.9% this year from an estimated growth of 8% last year. At the first media briefing this year following the Monetary Policy Committee's meeting on Wednesday, CBK Governor, that's Dr. Patrick Njoroge, expressed confidence that the economy will weather the strain of the general election later on this year. Now, he also lauded the performance of the economy in the wake of the stress test it was put under by the COVID-19 pandemic, which was an unprecedented challenge felt by all around the world.
Seen elections before. We saw them 5 years ago. Actually, we saw a double election 5 years ago. And we saw another one 5 years before that, and etc. But I think your fear here is more speculative than anything. So I think we would just say that those are scenarios of a baseline. And the baseline is 5.9% growth. The economy as it is, despite the shocks, these are the largest shocks we've ever been tossed, we've ever received, has actually not just landed on its feet, it actually has done remarkably well.
A 28 billion shillings fund has been set up targeting medium-sized export-oriented businesses with a bias for integrating environmental, social and governance best practice in Kenya, Africa and parts of Asia. The fund, known as ESG Fund, has been set up by Indian-based venture capitalist Vishkar Capital in partnership with KfW, a German state-owned investment and development bank. This comes just 2 months after the Nairobi Securities Exchange unveiled its guidelines for ESG reporting by listed entities and is an indication of the growing focus of ESG compliance in capital raising.
We're talking about an investment size of anywhere as low as 200 million shillings, that's about $2 million, all the way up to $5 million. Our sweet spot's going to be between $3 to $5 million US dollars per transaction. Obviously, in the larger businesses, we can go significantly larger as well. So mid caps for us are typically businesses that are doing, less than $50 million, I would say, but above $3 to $5 million. So it's a very wide range, and we've done that on purpose, right? Because you have some exporters or some businesses in Kenya that are in the smaller scale of the small enterprises as opposed to the mid enterprises that we do want to enable.
Well, that's it from the business desk. My name is Nina Shabani. It's a good night from me.